And howdy everyone, welcome to the Comic-Based Livestream. I'm your host, Pete Bickford. We'll be talking here for, well, it might be a short show today, because I gotta admit, even though we're hanging tough in these apocalyptic times of ours, I've been coming down with something horrific that is springing up from whatever plant I'm allergic to out here in Tennessee. It is officially spring, and I have caught a nose full of it, so until tomorrow or so, when the Allarest finally takes effect, I'm actually just kind of holding it together. And in terms of like presentation for everything, one of the big innovations here, I've added not just a cough, but a gag and a sneeze button to my live stream panel, which I'll probably be using frequently as we go. Anyway, if you would, please post questions to the chat. We'll hit as many of them as we can. I only have a couple to get through that we've sent in ahead of time. If you would, please send them out to @ComicBase-TV, and I will hit them as soon as I can. Yeah, hopefully I'm not allergic to comics. No, not allergic to comic books, otherwise I'd be sick all the time. But no, they're anyway, seasonal allergies, they suck. Next 3 weeks of my life are going to blow, but into a handkerchief mostly. But then it all settles down, and then the place is lovely, and then it gets hot and humid and miserable, but air conditioning, what are you gonna do? Anyway, but yeah, like I say, please post in the chat and we'll take them as many as we can. Very brief comic-based news. We have a new build 1601, I believe it might be 1603 out there right now. It does just one slightly interesting thing, is if you do a lot of editing in the grid, you can, as you arrow around, you can now use the delete key to quickly clear out cells, as opposed to having to double click and edit things in them. Just a little bit of refinement on that one in response to some corrections we got in there. It was just kind of annoying me, so we did a quick little improvement to the way that some of that works in the grid. Other than that, yeah, the big news really is that we've started the cycle of working on the next version of ComicBase already, which is like we say, wait, this is like just the first day of the just the start of March. What do you mean you're doing the next one? Aren't you guys usually releasing right before Thanksgiving? And the answer is, yeah, that's been where we've been, but hey, COVID I think officially ended last night, and so we're trying to get back to a earlier in the year release schedule. Who knows? There may be a Comic-Con, in our life again someday. Which, by the way, if anyone's going out there, I would love to make it out this year. Tickets have not yet, to my knowledge, gone on sale yet. But it'd be kind of fun to do either a user group or possibly a meetup out there in San Diego, if we can make that happen. Let me know if you guys are interested in the chat on that one. I think it'd be fun. But we are trying to get the next major rev handled early this year, so we abbreviated the time where we do just kind of tweaks on the old one, and we're starting to slide into the new one. The new one, the big feature that we're going to announce ahead of time, is we are going to make every effort in the world to make it 64-bit only, which means it means two things. It means pulling all the old 32-bit. It's called OLE, Object Linking Embedding database code out of it, which is what we needed to use to interface with the old ComicBase 2017 and earlier databases. They were all 32-bit based. And the new code that we use in ComicBase 2020 and later is all 64-bit, but the problem is, if you ever want to be able to open and even convert any of those older databases, we need to have that code in the program. So the new version is going to take all this stuff out. There'll be a separate converter program for converting older databases if you're still using an old version like there and you want to upgrade to the current version. But hopefully the new version can lead a lean, pristine life cycle using all 64 bits of your memory, which is more than I'm ever going to need in my lifetime. But that should allow us to work with some very big data sets and do all sorts of cool things. But yeah, it's a long, sloggy process. It's nothing sexy to see while you're doing it. We're going to be working on that kind of individually over here at Human Computing for a while. As we get a little further along, where it's not just a technical technical exercise, then I think we'll open things up to folks who want to be part of a beta group on that one. We have chosen the code name for the next version. It's codename Transformer, probably for obvious reasons. But beyond that, there's nothing to see here, but we are making that big effort. There will be other features as we go on, but that's going to be the big technical marquee of the new one. So let's do a quick check of the chat here. Let's see here. Let me see. Wow. Okay, things have rolled by a lot. Okay, so by the way, hey everyone, welcome. We got a good turnout here. Hey to Richard, first one in. Way to go. Mike, great to see you. Tyler, hey Robbie, nice to see you as well. You say the sweetest things here. Let's see if I get that to come up on screen here. Let's see if I move the key onto there. Yes. I love Wednesdays. I got to pick up new comic books from my local comic store and watch Pete's live stream. Aww. Anyway, hi to Vancouver with Mike. Looks like the weather's hanging in there. Oro, it's like snow in Minneapolis. Yeah. March can actually be kind of a bugger in Minneapolis. I spent many cold winters out there, but and they extend. You're never really safe till about May. So anyway, you never know. Tim, good to see you. Jeff, Andre, and we'll be talking about your stuff as well. Fred, good to see you as well. And Hale. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Let me see here. Tim asks, any chance you could make an appearance in Chicago, maybe C2E2? I gotta look into that. That would be an interesting show to do. Let me... I'm gonna write myself a note on that one, because I gotta admit, C2E2 is one of those shows that it always goes by and I always wished I'd gone and I've never made it. So yeah, let's... let me check into that. If it makes any kind of sense, it sounds like it would be a lot of fun. Let me go ahead and see if I can pull up, because it looks like the chat messages are not automatically going away. We'll figure it out. Okay. I guess that's just the way that the auto scroll works on this guy. Okay, no problem. Let me see. Richard says, "Oh my goodness, I'm trying to follow this stream backwards in time." Let me see. You found that earlier. Yes. Which title will be most likely to make a limited edition variant printed on ragweed? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Zenoscope's going to publish it. Calico allergens. All right, let's see here. Oro asks, is it possible for any poor schlub to get ticks to San Diego, or they still take your firstborn? I don't know. It used to be just dang near impossible to get them unless you snap them up like the minute they went on sale. But the show's been in absolute collapse for 2 years now, so because of COVID and all the restrictions that came with it, California is one of the last states to unlock. Particularly when it comes to things like trade shows, and so they've really made it hard to run a show. Tickets just went on sale for WonderCon, I know, which used to be up in Oakland, but I know they moved it down to SoCal. Not as interested in that show, but I will be keeping a close eye on Comic-Con. Definitely, if you haven't done so yet, they have yet another portal system for their show tickets thing. They always seem to do the contracting with whoever the most incompetent, venue is for doing things. That's usually their guy that they choose for selling tickets to everything. So I'm trying to make these things. If I click the same one again? There it goes away. All right, sweet. I figured this out. Anyway, but anytime if you had a login from last year, of course it is no good. They carried over part of it, but not the other part of the information. You'll have to re-sign up and revalidate. Blah 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 blah. It's a pain in the tuchus working with the system, but do take the time and get ahead of it and get signed up on it so that when things do go on sale, you'll know it, because it's usually a mess. But yeah, as far as Chicago, we used to exhibit for many years at the Chicago, the Wizard World Chicago and so forth. The last time we went, we had it was a miserable show. It's funny because it's a really good show to actually buy and sell comic books at, but we just had the worst time. We had to fly everyone in, and we deal with all the union guys and all the. There's a lot of production moving into exhibiting in that convention center, and we may or may not have been shaken down by someone claiming to represent the fire marshal at one point on one of the years that we were there. Anyway, there's a lot of drama. But the last time we were out there, they gave us what they thought was a great spot. It was right across from the wrestling ring, where they were having 300-pound guys slam each other into the mats during the entire show, and trying to sell. Do long form demos of comic book software or software of any sort. Well, that's happening, and there's all the screaming and thump on the mat every 2 seconds. That took some doing, and then just to make things even better, somehow the Atomic Avenue dirigible that we fly over things started experiencing a slow leak during the whole thing. I think this was Mark 1 of the Atomic Avenue dirigible. The one we are currently have is actually Mark 2. But it slowly over the course of the day, like the Hindenburg was deflating and sinking down. Terrible times last time we did Chicago. But San Diego has always been more fun, but it's still it's something that just as a company we decided not to exhibit at the show for a couple of years because again it's just the characters of all the shows have kind of changed. They became much more around much less about comic books actually, but you get a big crowd, but not only 1 in 12 or 1 in 8 I'm sorry, 1 in 8 or so are there for the comics specifically. A lot of times it's there for the TV or the movie properties. And there's also a lot of emphasis on things that you can only get while you're at the show. So you open up things on preview night and people kind of speed run the entire hall, and it's basically their heads on a swivel and it's like, what can I get here? What can I get here? And if the answer is that you can come back anytime you want and buy the exact same thing from us during the course of the entire show, that takes down a lot of the interest on the whole thing. But I mean, we're not going to sell like a convention exclusive copy of ComicBase. That would just be silly. At the same time, we could do sales during the show, but at the same time, we would typically offer the same sale price to people who weren't at the show because, why should you have to pay, $200 to get a ticket into the con to save, yourself $20 on the software or something. So anyway, it didn't make any sense. So after a while, we just were like, yeah, guys, we've been doing this for 20 years, but maybe it's time to pack it in and spend the money that we spent on exhibiting at Comic-Con elsewhere on things. And that's what we've done for the last couple. And then COVID came and really just destroyed the place. But, even if we don't exhibit, I want to be there because it's a great show just to meet people. I mean, like, if you've been, schlepping around the country, setting up, tearing down, and doing all the things that involved with a trade show. And you do this for 20 years around folks. I mean, like, I got to know Neil Adams' kids as they grew up. I mean, I believe Josh is now a comic artist in his own right. I think he had a gig on Doctor Who last time I saw. But I mean, like, I knew the kid when he was like, playing with my little kids, back when they were young. But it's like, that's where you kind of meet your friends. And so a lot of good memories over the years. I definitely want to go to the show. The panels at San Diego are amazing. And and if there's a chance to put on a user group or stage a meetup, I think that'd be amazing. So that would be why I'd want to go. So it's a long rambly bit, and that's without the benefit of what's the stuff you take for your nose? Sudafed, which is the stuff you can take that actually acts quickly to knock out your allergies, but unfortunately it also leaves me spacey as anything. So that's the non-Sudafed version of Pete. You don't want to see the Sudafed version. All right. Let me see here. Andre says, Pete, some people don't know why you asked to post at ComicBase TV. If you could show for people that don't know why you asked for this. So you guys might have noticed in the chat when you ask questions, if you say at, just the at sign, and then someone's name, it causes the thing to go bold and highlight, and it pops out in my feed. Otherwise, I'm watching messages scroll by, and half of them are just between people saying hi or comments on this and the other thing. And so it's if you want something that actually gets my attention, please post it with at ComicBase TV because it helps us a lot. All right. Let's see here. Yes, Fred says CB24 or virtuality browsing. Who knows? All right. So let's see here. Yeah, Greg says nobody goes to San Diego Comic-Con anymore. It's too crowded. Yeah. All right. So let me see. For Yogi Berra references last week. Greg says. Last week we talked about Atomic Avenue merchandise. Pete's got on an AA polo shirt. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I rarely wear company swag, while I'm doing the live stream. It was almost, honestly, probably just too loopy this morning just from sneezing. But it's like one of those things where, like, if you want to be cool and you're in a rock band, you never wear the band t-shirt. You wear, the shirt, of some other cool band that, you like or something, preferably an obscure punk band from the 80s if you're like the, drummer in Motley Crue or something. But yeah, so it's like when I'm if I'm working like at a show with you guys, this is like kind of our standard uniform for, if we're doing Atomic Avenue things. There's a comic-based shirt, but I don't think I've ever worn one on the live stream, except by accident. You usually see me just wearing like Guinness shirts or something. But yeah, anyway, but this is it. As far as Atomic Avenue swag goes, I actually did locate. It's not impressive to see right now, but I did locate. Let's wave it briefly. The dirigible, the inflatable that we were giving away at Comic-Con one year. And at some point, I'm gonna have to blow this sucker up and show it off. But yeah, I'll have to find some way of flying it across the office or something. But anyway, that's a swag. There you go. All right, let me see here. So if your salesperson stops screaming, I don't want to know what this is all about. Okay, let's see here. Stuff we all get. Yeah, swag. Stuff we all get. Are we all getting his shirt? Used to be when you bought Comic-Con, Comic-Base at the show. I think our very first year we had Comic-Base t-shirts. There were various things you could do, and if you were one of the brave souls that actually helped us load in, because somehow you worked, got your own early pass, something like that. If we ever said, here's a heavy thing, please lift it for us, we need some help. We had a set of special purpose Comic-Base t-shirts. They were brown and they just said hero on them. Those are ones that even I don't get to wear. It's like that was purely for the giving away. And then the other one I thought that was really cool that we were giving away was we had, you guys might have seen like people who work security at bars. It has the big blue security shirt and stuff like that. We had one made up just like that, but has a logo on the front with a guy lifting weights, and the back it just says henchman. So anyway, all right. TV swag apropos of nothing. All right, let's get on with what else we got to talk about, and if nobody has any other more substantive questions, then we'll get out of here early. What the heck? All right, so I think we got it now. Okay, yeah, let's move on. All right, so first of all, I want to go and talk a little bit about themes. This one has come up in the comments. We always get a commenter who comes in there and says, "Hey, your theme is showing black on white text on black background. It's really hard to see. I hate it." Or maybe that was the implication. Let's talk a little bit about window themes and why you'd want to use them and why I wasn't using them like that way beforehand. And while I'm at it, let me see if I can get. If I go like that, all right, that's the key over there. Let me see if I can move that to a more interesting place on the screen. Dooba-dooba-doo. I want to go to, let me see here. Looking for, that should take it down to, there we go. Okay, so we now have the keys down to where we want them. Okay, cool. All right. And by the way, if everyone who suffered through the last live stream wondered, wait, Pete had been running with his picture-in-picture key all the way in the upper left-hand corner, even when he's on that camera forever. What's the deal with him? Can't he see it? The deal on that one is I was reconfiguring my audio setup over here. There's a little tiny, you can't see it, I don't have a way to show it to you right now, but right over my eye line for the camera, in the background a little bit, is a little tiny 7-inch monitor, which has 16 different split-screen views of different input sources and preview keys and audio monitors and recording statuses and things like that on it. So it's a tremendous amount of stuff to try to see in a little space. And one of the things that I was trying to get it to fit in was it had the ability to use as an overlay the audio levels. So I can make sure that the audio sounds good and we don't spend 5 minutes before every show saying, hey, I can't hear you, blah, blah, blah. But that was, in order to make that ever so slightly larger, I had chosen the main program window to put the audio overlay on. And of course, the audio overlay was right over where the split screen key was appearing. And so I couldn't even see that I had the key on. So that was all me. All right. Fred's being a smart aleck. He says, how about the customization that we all know we want? The ability to change from the font in ComicBase to Comic Sans. Oh, good God. It's funny. One of the features that has always been on the maybe list for us is to allow more customization of not just the comic base themes, but also the report fonts and things like that. Let me know if that's important to you guys, because it's a fair amount of work for us if we want to take it on. We've had some people kind of indicate that they're a little bit interested, but not enough to make it like something that feels like we must do. If that's something that is like, if that's like of the top things you'd ever want to see, if that's it, let us know, and we'll see if we can't, find a way to, dial in on what customizations you really are looking for, and to accommodate those. I mean, I definitely, as I get a little older, I sit there and I wonder, it's like, well, is there a way to up the size or down the size of certain labels or fonts or things like that? And there is within limits. There's not the ability to just go hog wild on it, because you always have to make sure that everything works on all the different paper sizes and all the different monitor sizes that we need to support. And that's really hard to do in a generalized way. But to give you a fair amount of flexibility, like let's say, I don't know, you really like piratey fonts, and you want to have all your label dividers be set in CC treacherous. That's something that we could certainly accommodate if that was of interest to people. But let us know. All right, let's talk about themes now. So the question came up, and let me go ahead and open up that database here. So here's my recent databases. Oh, by the way, I'll show you a trick on that one here in a second. All right, so this is the one that everyone that the commenter was always complaining about. He said, all right, well, you've got the thing here, but I can't read it. It's all white on black text and so forth. And the reason that the live stream theme was always set to dark as soon as we had the really dark theming available to us in ComicBase 2021. First of all, was to show off that we now can have very dark themes and make everything look cool and techno. That was part of it. The other part of it is because in my studio setup over here, there was basically, I've got two big monitors that were right in front of me, 27-inch monitors, one of which I'm watching the chat and doing everything else on, the other one is my computer screen that I'm showing everything to you guys on. And both of these are basically like having ginormous light panels shining straight into your face with whatever's on the screen. And so when I was using glasses on the whole thing, everything you'd see would be mirrored in my glasses. It was very distracting for everybody. We got a million comments on the chat and so forth. So a couple of weeks ago, I tried something that I've wanted to try for a while, which stole a march from a guy named David Joshua Ford, which is the insane TV producer genius who came up with the incredibly complex macros that we're currently using on our switcher. But I saw in his studio that he has this very elaborate, very beautiful, TV studio setup. But what he did for they call it a confidence monitor, it's a talent confidence monitor, so you can see how you look on the screen, is he was actually just using a bigger TV set a fair amount away from the camera line and so forth. And so I thought, wait a minute. Monitors cost a fortune, but you can pick up like a 50-inch TV at Costco for like $300. What if, instead of having this dual monitor set up on my desk, what if I set up, went down to Costco, got a 50-inch, 4K TV, put it on a stand, rolled it back about 6 feet from the desk, and just bumped the point size up, dramatically. Because, if you go from a 27-inch monitor to a 50-inch monitor, and you double the size of the fonts on everything else like that, then suddenly the curse of all old people, which is nearsightedness, suddenly I've got, what to my eyes, this razor sharp text halfway across the room. But it solves another problem for me, and that's also not shining that vast light right on my face. So we all kind of win. So I get to lose the glasses and you win the other way. But that's why we were using the dark stuff. But let's talk about why you might want to use the themes or says something differently. So if you go under the file menu here and you go theme, you will see that there are, as soon as I get it to come up here and move it onto the right screen, you've got a number of different looks that are built in that you can choose. The default one in ComicBase is a thing called Wave, specifically Blue Wave. So if you launched ComicBase and you never did anything else to it, this would be the theme you're looking at. Now, you can do a couple things. If you say, hey, I don't like blue, I want purple, I want, vapor, which I guess is our way of saying ice blue, so forth. You can choose different things, to customize them. But you can also, try just completely different looks. There's a simplistic, just really tones the whole thing down. You know, there's grunge looks for, you know, everyone who used to be a skater boy back in the day and misses it, you know, dramatically. But what these are is they're a collection of, it's at their heart, it's a collection of graphics, XML files, and whatnot that kind of give you an overall look to the window, to the backgrounds. It stylizes the columns, the type, you know, whether you know, whether adult text is red, whether it's purple or green or so forth. But there's a whole lot of layout elements that are associated with each of these things. You know, the particular graphics on the buttons up top and so forth. Anyway, all these things are available for customization. There's, again, I think, you know, 9 or 10 themes that come with ComicBase. And like I say, the default one here, let's switch it back to Blue Wave for the moment. So this is the Livestream Pete's Comics up here. This is the database I use just to show y'all stuff. Now, one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to have it be blue. I don't want to have it be wave. Why? And this is why you'd want to use themes in the first place, is because Blue Wave, I'm used to seeing the master database that way. So every time I see blue on the screen, I'm not reading up here. I'm just looking at a sea of blue, and I think I'm working in master, which then leads me to do various crazy things because I'm working in master. So what you want to do if you ever use more than one database in particular is make sure your two databases have different looks to them. So for instance, let's go ahead and make this one, yellow's kind of, orange is, yeah, I don't know. Let's go, we'll leave it purple. What the heck? All right. So anyway, what happened now is when I switch between databases, I'm just going to do this really quickly so you can see. If I've styled my different databases different colors, so then I have a quick little reference to what I'm doing. So here's, I'm going to open up the master database. Hey, look at it, there I am, Blue Wave, right? I'm going to open up my real database. This is the one I do my work out of, because yes, I also use the program. And it's always green. It's been green for 20 years. You know? And so I see a green database. I know I'm in the right database. And I want to use something which is not green and not blue, which is the one we're going to use for the live stream, because I know that I can tear holy hell out of this database and it won't affect anything because none of this is real. But anyway, what you'll want to do, especially if you're using more than one database, is go ahead, take a few minutes. First of all, find a theme that, you know, appeals to you on some level, but then go ahead and change the theme, or at least the color, enough so that just with a casual look, you'll instantly know what database you're looking at when you go to different databases, because it'll make you nuts otherwise. The worst case scenario is you start doing a big ton of work in the wrong database, and then there isn't really a great way to get that work into the right database once you started working in a wrong database. So I know people who say they manage one collection for themselves, one for their brother, you know, which I guess makes you a great brother, because I don't think I would care enough to manage my brother's collection. I have enough trouble with my own. But if you do that, you know, and you say, hey, I just added 10 new books to my collection, you don't want to, you know, if you've accidentally opened up your brother's collection and do the work there, there isn't a great way to move those 10 books over to your collection. So yeah, make it easier on yourself. Give the different databases in your life a really good, colorful look to them, and then get rid of there. All right, I'm gonna ask another question here that I want to check chat. So let's go ahead here. People ask when I go to the mobile app and I click right at the top. Let me see if there's a way to project this. I'm not feeling lucky, so if I can't get this working in just a second, bear with me, and I will move on. But I think, like I say, we'll see if I can't make this happen. So if I say cast to, it's linked to Windows. I want. Now they keep on moving things around in Android, and it drives me nuts. Oh, I'm gonna pay for it for not having this set up ahead of time. Smart View. Okay, phone to other device, yes. Pete, large desktop. Well, gosh, let's do this a different way. All right, start now. I was looking for my Chromecast, which should have worked, but you know what? In this modern age of ours, there's more than one way to skin this particular cat, I guess. So now I'm going to switch back over to my computer monitor, and what do you know? If it will do it. Come on. Oh, that's weird. Okay, very strange. Okay, that did not work. So what I was going to show you is that I could actually activate smart casting off my smartphone up to my monitor. However, that happens before the switch, the TV switch. So even though I'm looking at it on my other TV monitor, you guys aren't. So all it does is mess me up. So all right, that was worth a good shot. Yeah, no, I was looking for Chromecast on my my Chromecast to show up on my monitor over here, and I'm not immediately seeing it. Let's do one more check, and if it doesn't show, then bag it. Alright, so I'm taking off the large desktop, and I want to... No, focus mode, do not disturb. Nope, they changed where it comes from. I'm gonna have to look that up and come back to you. Alright, so anyway, but let's go back to the point, which I swear I did have. Is if you want to go ahead and pull up the mobile app, one problem we occasionally get is people will say, hey, I'm seeing more databases there than I currently use. What do I do about that? So for instance, you know, I always use Bob's database, but I'm still seeing ComicBase-related listed in there. So how do I get rid of the original thing? So what you want to do, let me go ahead and pull this up. All right, so here is our website over here. What you need to do is you need to go under My Account, go to Profile, and scroll down to the bottom of the profile, and you will see a section down here called Known Databases. And what this is going to do is it's going to say, all right, here's every database that you've ever touched when talking to our servers. So I've got a bunch here because I'm always testing on different things. What you want to do is you come down here and get rid of everything that is kind of silly, that you don't need anymore. At which point, if you launch the mobile app, you'll see only the things that matter. So I'm just clearing up my list over here, and if I had the mobile app on my screen, I'd be able to show you that having now gotten rid of those databases there, that I'm left with just, you know, the ones that matter to me. And if you want to get rid of them all, not a problem. It's, you know, it just, at the moment, you'll see nothing in your list. But the second you go ahead in ComicBase and you say check for updates, it will immediately say, hey, this is database Pete's Comics, or Livestream Pete's Comics, with ID number, whatever your database ID number is, checking for updates now. And after it gives you, you know, your totals up here, which again, that's the BS data that we use on the live stream, then you'll notice when we go back to the web page, which is right over here, and let me go ahead and refresh, that suddenly Livestream Pete's Comics just appears. And it'll do the same thing for every other database that you check for updates on. They'll just instantly repopulate. But that'll let you get rid of any databases that are listed in your mobile application that you don't use anymore. All right, let me go ahead and check the chat, and we'll take it from there. And let me also get rid of the key. Boom. Hey, I actually saw it because it's not hidden behind an audio monitor. Okay. Fred says, yes, Pete doesn't even have all the badges. Yeah, no, I play fair on this stuff, man. There are badges that I have not done enough stuff to earn. So I have done things like, some of the rarer badges are things like if you submit a blurb to us to include in the database. So if you actually fill in your own title description and submit that one in, that's, I think, probably one of the rarer badges. But the ones that the rarest badge in the entire place is a badge called Commander Shepard. And it was named after Barry Shepard, who's the first guy to hit 200,000 correction points. It's also the only gold level badge in the program. It plays with a special sound effect just for that badge. I think there's now a handful of folks, it might be 4 or 5 folks now who've hit the 200,000, you know, correction level, but it's absolutely insane. Anyway, so that is that. But yeah, no, I mean, whether it's my Atomic Avenue seller score or my badges on everything else, no, I never alter my own data to make myself look cooler. I'm just, no, you got what you got. All right, so let's see how we're doing here. All right, so Street in the Dark, of course. You guys are funny. All right, comparing drinks, hot chocolate. Mike, what are you doing, man? All right, Greg mentions, I use a completely different theme for my selling database, so I don't post comics. I want to keep in the wrong database. Yeah, it's not a bad way to go. By the way, I'm going to show you another way you can go if you want to. So this comes up pretty often, and let me go ahead and put the key on so you can see me, is I've got a bunch of stuff, and matter of fact, I'll go ahead and pull up my real database on this one, so you can, again, I'll prove that I do walk the walk on this stuff. So there are very few, if you have, I was just entering the week's comics in, I think there was a thing called Christmas Caroline, that one just came, it was the last comic I entered this week, right before the live stream. So that one came in, it's $3.99 right now. If you see on Atomic Avenue, if you check my inventory, you'll see that I have it for sale at $3.99. I always sell my stuff at market price on ComicBase, because again, if I'm not going to live by our market price, do I have any right to believe anyone else that's a good place to go? But anyway, in general, anything that you're willing to buy from me at the price listed, I am happy to sell to you. We're generally done with the comics by that point, and there aren't that many that that I love so much that I'm not willing to go out and get myself another copy of it if I really want to keep it. But there are exceptions. There are things that I actively am just working on filling out a collection on. So, for instance, if you go to the EC archives, we've talked about this before on different things. My love for this series is that I'm trying to fill out the series, right? So there's ones I've got, there's ones that somehow I was asleep at the wheel when we ordered them, and I didn't get them ordered in time. And as they opportunistically come up on Atomic Avenue or anywhere else, I'll go ahead and buy them and fill in my collection. I don't want to sell these again. So if you look at my database, and we go ahead and pull up the detail on this one, you'll see that, yeah, sure, everything in my database, because I did a mass change, and I said everything in the database is listed as for sale. But there are things I don't want to sell. I mean, that's true for 99% of the things in my collection, but there are things that I don't want to sell. What do I do with that? Well, if you come down here at the end, you will see that there is a field called reserve quantity, right? Which is how many you're holding back from sale. So if there are comic books that are special to you that you don't want to let go. Let's see if I can get this to work. Nah, the magnifier's not working today. All right, let me try one more time. Sorry, I've been messing around with this computer so much, it's driving me nuts. So, yeah, there we go. There's the magnifier. All right, there's the reserve quantity right over here. So if you set reserve quantity by default is 0. In other words, it says if you have it marked for sale, you're willing to sell it. But let's say I only want to sell my duplicates, or I don't want to sell a particular comic book at all. Now, look, I like being able to say mass change, just everything's for sale, right? Again, it's fine for me. And if I happen to have 2 copies somehow of Aces High #1 hardcover, I'd be happy to sell you the second one, but you're not getting the first one. So what I did is I set the reserve quantity across all of my EC archives. Just if it's got EC archive in the title, I took those titles, I mass changed, I say reserve quantity of those is all 1. In other words, once I get it, you only get it from me for sale on Atomic Avenue if I have more than 1. And so at that point, when I post my stuff for sale, it only posts the things that are in excess of #1, which I actually do have a couple duplicate copies of a couple EC archives, but this is not one of them. So that's a good way to go if you don't want to manage a whole separate database and you want to offer some things for sale but not all. You either don't mark them as for sale, the ones you don't want to sell, or mark them as for sale, but set the reserve quantity as 1, and that way you'll only sell the duplicates if you ever have them. The case in point on that one in particular is, I think I probably mentioned this in the live stream beforehand, Maggie Thompson, the former editor of Comics Buyer's Guide, and also lifetime fangirl for science fiction, has the most amazing house ever. If you ever go to it, it's this tiny little place out in Iola, Wisconsin, but everywhere you look is something fantastic, including I went down to, in her basement, she had a asbestos-bound original copy of Fahrenheit 451 signed by Ray Bradbury. I mean, how cool is that? Original art up the wazoo. You can't knock over anything without you can't find an empty space in her house that doesn't have something amazing in it. So I'm over at her house. We're talking about in the early days of partnering with them on ComicBase and the price guide. They were our partners for many, many years in building out the database that is now behind ComicBase and establishing the price guide. But I'm like, I'm looking for a place to set my laptop down. I've got nothing. I'm like, Maggie, you don't have a spare table. You don't have a spare chair. There's nothing. Why don't you just take anything here, sell it, and buy yourself a new house? And unbelievably, she actually took my advice at one point and sold off her duplicates. Not her originals, her duplicates of Spider-Man 1 through 100, because she had been a Spider-Man collector. Don Thompson, her soon, her one day would be her husband when they met. He had also been a Spider-Man collector, so they had duplicates of Spider-Man 1 through 100. And this is back even before the crazy, gangbuster days of today. She sold off, just her dupes, the less good copies of 1 through 100, and bought herself an edition with rolling library shelves, the kind with the rolling ladders on them, and you can crank the thing to move the entire bookcase left and right. It's absolutely fantastic stuff. But that was done off selling dupes. I love that. Probably, I don't know, $20 worth of raw cost went into the purchase of that. So fantastic. All right. Let's see what else we got going on here. Steve says, maybe mention if you save a copy, it shares the same theme as the original one. That is correct. So if you do make a database that comes from another database, immediately then go file open that second copy and change its theme to be something else. That's probably a good idea. All right, let's see. Andre asks, would it be possible to have the path for the covers and media associated with the database? If you have 2 or more databases, they can have their own setting. Probably not. It's the wrong scope for those. So there are things that are unique to. Oh, let me kill the extra key there. Come on. Go away. There you go. There are things that are, there's preferences and files that are shared at different levels. Some things, for instance, the theme is unique to a database. You want that to, everywhere that database goes, you want that to have its own color, right? So if I put this database on a different machine and it was the purple, theme one, I still want it to be purple when I open it. So that one's unique to the database. There are other things that are unique to the machine. There are things unique to the user account. So for instance, you might notice that in the user account on your computer, if you go to your documents folder, it's C, users, and then your name, and then documents. That's where your database lives. So if you shared a computer with another person in the same household, if I log in as Pete and my kid logs in as kid number 1, because I number my kids for ease of cataloging. We would have our own database folders, and they would all be unique to us, so we could both name our database ComicBase database. It would not cause a conflict whatsoever. But that that makes sense on a per user basis. But then there's other things, and they tend to be the big things, like picture files, which can occupy multiple gigabytes on your hard drive, and those things are shared at the global level on your computer. So there, even if I install ComicBase in my user account and my wife installs ComicBase in her account, or kid number 1 installs in their account, we all draw from the same picture directory by default. Now we can change that to each person and their preferences can point someplace else squirrely on everything, but the default is certainly that we share that on the global level. So yeah, I do think the preferences certainly for the pictures. I mean, the default is definitely going to be store them on the global level. If you really, really want to have your own copy on a per user basis, you can, because the preferences for how you use ComicBase are shared on a per user basis. I can point to one set of folders for my pictures, and you could point to a set of folders for your pictures. That's a thing that can happen. But you're asking for something even more specific than that. You're going all the way to the most local of the levels, which is to say on per database, can you store where it gets pictures? And I don't know, it's just, to me, that feels like that's the wrong place for it. It feels like no matter what databases I open, overwhelmingly, I'm going to want them to all be in the same place. But maybe I'm wrong. If you guys feel differently, like you'd want, one database to draw from one set of pictures, another database to draw from another set of pictures. If you think that's a thing you need, we could move it to be more local. We could always copy that down. But yeah, without kind of an architectural change in that, we couldn't do it. So let us know. Like I say, there are things that we could work into new versions, but that's not something that's easy to do. All right, so let's see here. Fred asks, I've only started using multiple databases. Do databases separately save picture directories? So the part that is common and the part that is not. When you go to, so the pictures themselves are going to default. If we go down here to File and then go to File Tools, and let me go ahead and make this a little bigger so you can see it. Go down here to Manage Pictures and Movies. Which, does that not, oh no, sorry, sorry, it was on my other screen. If you look at this, it'll show you the location of your pictures and movies. Now, the default for us right now, we actually share ours on a Dropbox, everybody in the company, but yours will say something like C, users, public, human computing, that's I believe where the default is. Matter of fact, if I reset it, you'll see what the default is. Yeah, so C, users, public, documents, human computing. And thanks, I just cleared out all the references to my stored picture folders, which means that if I want my screensaver to be bitchin' now, I gotta redo them all. Well done. Excellent. So that's what I get for demoing with my database. Okay. Oh, guys, this is why I keep a live stream database, guys, so that way I don't do myself in like I just did there. But that's okay. I can rebuild them. It just takes a little while. But yeah, so the default is it's going to point out to the public documents folder. Now I could change this, so it goes to C users, fsloda or whatever you're called on your local machine, and save your pictures into a directory that's specific to you. But the default is that it's in the one that's shared amongst all the users of the computer. So change it if you want. I wouldn't generally recommend it, but maybe you've got some application for what you're doing that's that's unique to you that I don't know about. If so, tell us more about it. And I guess if I really stretch my mind, maybe I could imagine a situation where if heritage auction galleries wanted to keep individual pictures which represented the individual comics associated with a particular set of holdings, they wanted those stored by database. If they called us and asked, that might be a thing we do, but they have not called and asked, so I don't know. But if that's something that you really feel like you need in your life, then let us know, and maybe we can accommodate it. All right, let's see here. Oro says, I always seem to see two thumbnail folders. Are they essentially the same? And yes, with thumbnail folders, the thumbnails come in different sizes. Typically, there's a one size that's used for the grid thumbnails, another one that's used for album thumbnails or other things like that. So don't be surprised if you see different thumbnail folders. They all have folders inside them that all correspond to these sizes right here, 16, 24, 32, all the way up to 256. What those are is those are the pre-computed thumbnails that lay along the side there, which let you see things, which, by the way, you'll notice that they all went away now because I changed my picture folder. So anyway, let me go ahead and just download some covers now, just so I get something to show you guys. Anyway, but yeah, these pre-computed thumbnails here, those are stored individually inside the thumbnails folder, by the size that they correspond to, and also remember the thumbnails folder, you can always just blow away the entire thing and they'll recreate themselves. So yeah, that's a thing you can do. All right, moving on. Let's see here. Yes, Fred says, the question is not does Pete sell at market value, does Pete sell and buy ahead of market value shift? Look, I'm like anybody else. Sometimes I get lucky, sometimes I don't. It's yeah, I mean, I don't know how to put it, guys. I love comic books, but speculating in comic books isn't my job. I write comic-based software for a living, so I'm not any cleverer than anybody else. I mean, I'll probably won't be the very last person to hear about a trend, but I'm typically not the guy who monitored, Entertainment Weekly and got note the very second that someone decided that they were going to option Rocket Raccoon to become, have his own mini series or something. So, I'll hear about it when everyone else does, and by then usually people have scooped all my. I'll find out about half the stuff because people have just bought my books off of me off Atomic Avenue, and they'll clean out the entire system of Rocket Raccoon or something. That's usually when I find about hot new trends. So, yeah, so it goes. Fred says, death of Superman comics in the bathroom. No, I don't. But by the way, speaking of trends, if anyone wants the Superman's kid turned gay issue, that one's still going for, I think, slightly above cover price. And I still have a copy if anyone wants it. All yours. I think the buy, Nightwing or the buy Robin one out of Batman Urban Adventures also not exactly burning up the sales charts here. Still got my copy, and it's been riding around at market price the entire time. Riding both up and down. All right, let's see here. Fred says it's kind of wrong scope because you decided it was the wrong scope. Well, yeah, that's another way of saying it. Yes, that's how it seemed most appropriate for the use cases we're trying to support. But again, if there's a use case that is important to folks that isn't the one we're trying to support, then that might be a different scope. All right. Let's see here. Fred says I scans my own comics separate from the original copies. What I would probably do if I wanted to do that is I probably wouldn't maintain separate picture stores because it'd be kind of a pain. Because unless you're going to scan every comic book that you ever come across, probably the way I would cheat that one out is I would just scan my comics at like 600 DPI. Because first of all, if I'm going to sell it for, if I'm ever going to show a very valuable comic book to somebody, for market purposes, they're going to probably want the highest res scan I can ever give them. But if you ever put down a scan at like hell, even like 300 DPI, we're never going to send you down the wire. I think it amounts to, if you're talking about how big a scan is that corresponds to a typical comic book. So our biggest size that we'll ever put down the wire is a 4K image, which is 3840 wide by, in theory, 3840 tall, which will never happen. I think it's, 2160 tall. That's 4K. We're not going to 8K. That's not a thing. So if you scan your comics higher than that, they'll just sit happily on your computer. We'll never, because it'll always be the biggest scan. And so that will always be the biggest one. So we'll never replace it anyway. So that way, if you do that, you've got the best scan. It'll be the one of your comic book. It'll never get replaced by the update, and you're probably good to go. That's probably how I'd handle it. All right, so let's see here. Greg wants to remind everyone there's a dedicated thread in the CB message boards where you can request live stream topics and demos. Please do that. And yeah, for instance, given the topic was their last man standing topic I wanted to get to. Yeah, honestly, guys, we do these every week. And, if we're honest about most of them, unless I'm just burning to talk about something in particular, it kind of comes down to I'm here to chat about comic books with whatever you guys want to talk about. I'll have a little bit of news of my own, but honestly, the whole point is to talk to you guys and answer whatever you guys are interested in chatting about. That is the pitch for every live stream, give or take. So at the same time, we want to, put something in next time. So come around Monday or Tuesday, we sort of have a little meeting, people talk about assignments for the week in the office and everything. And at some point, the artist is going to ask me, hey, Pete, what you got to give me a topic for, the graphic this week. Now, luckily, the artist this week was out dead for, couldn't do the art, because bad things were happening. I guess we declared the end of COVID this week. I guess everyone's decided the science just changed or something. And so everyone's dropping all the mask nonsense and everything else. And that all just happened. There was apparently a memo went around, on the whole thing. And so then the science got updated. The science got updated because they even did an SNL and a Saturday Night Live skit about it this weekend, which if you haven't yet seen it, definitely worth checking out. It's really funny, and if you've been saying any of the stuff that they're having a hard time saying the skit for a year now, it'll also make you just damn furious, because it's like, oh yeah, we're playing this off as jokes, that all the stuff that, wait, can we say out loud that thing that the people that we said a year ago were saying this to us, we were treating like, they were evil, unclean people. Maybe we overreacted. But you know what? Hey, one way or another, apparently that has changed. So we had pestilence going on along in the land. We had people out, had to make our own art. And then Russia invaded Ukraine. It's, I don't have a lot to say about that one that you haven't already heard, but I'll share my one funny story I have about dealing with the Ukrainians. There is a very, very talented UX design firm I worked with in the past, where I hired them out and got to know them a bit. They came out the two principals came out and visited when I was out in San Francisco, and then a year or so later, I had a project I figured I could throw their way back into Ukraine. So I was very happy to work with them. Great guys. They, again, top-notch work. I mean, really good stuff. And right after that point, Russia invaded Crimea. And it's like, you're used to exchanging these little LinkedIn messages with colleagues, and and project status updates and things like that. And so I'm like, hey Pavlo, how's it going and everything else? But hey man, I don't know what I can do for you, but geez, it's like, are you hanging in there okay? I mean, like, screw the project. I mean, it's like, how are you? Are you safe? I mean, so forth. And he writes back a very nice letter. He says, "Oh yeah, things are going pretty okay here. It's, I'm spending most nights this weekend making Molotovs in the church basement. And we think we're pretty tough. We think we'll hang in there, unless they roll in heavy armor, in which case it won't be too good for us. But anyway, onto the icon design on, screen number 23. I really think that I need a larger your icon to indicate the status of this. It's like." And just realizing, holy cow, I just live in a different world. Anyway, I wish the best to everyone over there. But yeah, I mean, we're just seeing the world go to hell. And yes, as I was sitting there without my artist out there, and it's kind of like, well, what do we do the topic of for this time? It's like, yep, kind of felt like I'm about the last guy left around here, and damn it, we're holding a live stream because in a world where you've got pestilence, death, disease, I don't think we have famine yet, but I think we've got all the others going on there. Clearly, the most important thing that we could possibly be talking about is comic books. So that's what we're here for. All right. Anyway, on that one, let me do a quick check here. Andre asks, I submit data with my working database. When I update with my collection database, there's no quantity at all, so the cover I uploaded with working database, gets erased? The cover isn't associated with the quantity, so Andre, I might be missing something about the question. So follow up with me later on that one. I'm gonna need more info on what's going on with that one. Let's see here. Fred says, we didn't use 4K several years ago. Can you really say you won't do larger than 4K several years from now? Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that one because I'm 54, and by the time we can't even get I still don't have a 4K editing suite right now. Like right now, about half the gear that is being broadcasting this live stream to you right now, and even from someone who's really spending money on this kind of stuff, is still 1080p, and it's being shoved through a 1080p switch onto onto your computer. When you talk about what's the use of 8K when it comes to something like a comic book, and at a certain point it kind of caps out at what does it take to print the same comic book again, which when you think about glossy cover stock, right, is if you go above, I believe it's a 150 line screen or 166 line screen. I think the highest res you'll ever even print a lithograph at is it's a number like 200 or something, but which equates to essentially 400 DPI. Going above 400 DPI for something that's going to be printed using a 4-color process, which is to say they've got a cyan plate, a magenta plate, a yellow plate, and a black plate, right? Going above that in the printing process, unless you're doing something very specialized, you're inventing pixels that weren't there. So I mean, scanning a comic book at 1200 DPI or scanning a comic book like this at 8K, it doesn't make any sense. I'm literally inventing pixels to make the scan. I may as well just invent the pixels when I upscale my original scan. So no, we have no plans to go above 4K, and in order to lay the foundation for the 4K release, we were scanning at 4K for a decade earlier. We have not been scanning at higher than 300 DPI, nor do we have any plans to, because it is honestly it doesn't make any technical sense to me. So yeah, I'm gonna say there are very few things that are definitive in this world, but as long as comic books are still printed on paper, I just don't see the point. Yeah, we have no plans whatsoever of going higher than we're going in terms of the scan on that. All right. I think that's so I have no idea what this is apropos of, but it's take a year dead for tax purposes. Yeah. Way to go with the Hitchhiker reference. All right. Let's see. Steve asks, how do you change the pencil boot image to color? The pencil boot image. Man, I'm losing it, man. I cannot think of what you're thinking of. Send me a note on the Slack on that one. We'll take it there. And Fred says, do we have a cover scan for the massive Attack on Titan edition? A cover scan for... I don't know which edition that is. Is there like a really bitchin' Attack on Titan thing? I do not know. ComicBase microfiche. Don't know, man. I think I've just about clocked out. I'm like, I'm like, Joe Biden with you. When the, one thing I gotta say about that, and that was a short State of the Union address. He was like, he's going a mile a minute through that whole thing. But man, when he clocked out the end of that, when he clocked out hard, I'm following in his footsteps here because I feel like I've kind of, well, I'm not dosed up on anything right now, but I need to get dosed up on something because I feel like my nose is just barely hanging in there. By the way, I'll show you. And give you a quick demo if this works here of the 3 buttons that I planned on using at some point here. First of all, we have the cough, which just turns off my microphone for a second, nothing visible on the whole thing. There's the sneeze, which turns off for a little longer, lets me come back from the whole thing. And then finally there's the one I feared because this was happening to me about 20 minutes before showtime. I have a button marked gag, which is this. And that one turns everything off for long enough for me to recover from rolling on the floor or whatever I was doing ahead of time. Bob Wood asks, oh, thank you, I understand. When does the Burning Man pencil image turn to color? Oh yeah, so the deal on that one is if you want to get the colored Burning Man image, if you had one of the earlier editions that didn't have it, all you gotta do is uninstall ComicBase and uninstall ComicBase resources, reinstall it, and it'll be in color. It's kind of a weird little side effect of it's kind of a weird little side effect of the way the prerequisites come in on the installer, so they don't automatically upgrade as you go. But we actually kind of use that. A lot of people actually told us, hey, I actually liked getting in. I had kind of like the Founders Edition of this thing, and they wanted to get it, keep it. So we made it so that unless you actually take the extra action of uninstalling and then reinstalling, you'll keep whatever edition you originally got for the graphics. So, but if you do want to upgrade to the color version of the final painting, which by the way, I finally have the painting in the office now. As soon as it gets framed, I'll go and actually show it to you. We'll take the next one. All right, let's see here. Fred says, was an against breaking record large edition AOT about 4 Attack on Titan of 4 workers or so. I don't know about this. I'm gonna have to hear about the story. If anyone knows about this whole thing, yeah, fill me in, or maybe I'll Google about it. All right, so I think, oh wait, we got one more. Splash page. Okay, I think we got it. Oh yes, and Fred goes yeah. Yes, with apologies to Bill the cat, because I didn't have a Bill, a breathe. Is it Berkeley breathed or breathed? Blech. Anyway, the Bloom County guy. I did not have a treasure of his that I could scan on short notice to make my cough, thing, so it was Calvin and Hobbes. Alright guys, that's gonna about do it for me. You guys have a good one. I will chat with you all later, and we'll see you all next week. Take care.